We know this because of Matt Taibbi's reporting. He's the author of Griftopia, and he joins us tonight. Matt, thank you so much for coming on. So I'm not sure if I summarized that fairly, but I'll hand it to you. What do we know now?
Well, I think we know a lot about how a lot of these Russiagate stories came to be. People just lied. In this case, even when Twitter had more or less conclusive proof that there were no Russians involved in the release, the memo hashtag, even when they informed media and elected officials, even when they pleaded with members of the Senate not to go public because it would make them look, quote, foolish, they went ahead and did it anyway, despite being informed of the truth that, of course, Twitter knew internally because they were looking at the raw data. So this is, I think, a template of how these stories came to be. Politicians and the media just simply overrode what the facts were, and things being the way they were, there was a real mania at the time. This was the peak of the sort of McCarthyite hysteria about this subject. There was just no turning back.
So 5 years later, we're now engaged in a hot war with Russia, which we are. I mean, there are Americans fighting the war in Ukraine against Russia. So I wonder how much of this was designed to divert attention from things they didn't want exposed, and how much of it was an effort to whip Americans into a frenzy about Russia.
I think at the time, it seemed much more about diverting attention from the Nunes memo. Because remember, there were two sets of fake stories that came out at the time. One was that the story was being amplified by Russian bots. And that story, by the way, was repeated by virtually every major news organization in America and in some other countries, too, like the CBC did that story. But the other story was that the Nunes memo was not just fake and not just completely devoid of any important revelations, but grounds for him to potentially be removed from his position at the Intel Committee. MoveOn.org had a petition about it. Of course, we found out 2 years later through the Inspector General's report that virtually everything in the Nunes memo had been proved correct. So I think that's what they were doing. They were just trying to deflect from an uncomfortable truth by calling him a Russian proxy.
Really quick, since I know that you're keeping score, has any news organization that printed false allegations then apologized now in light of the truth coming out?
Not only have they not apologized, but not one of the news organizations that I reached out to for comment about this particular issue responded to me. Which suggests to me that they know exactly what happened. They know exactly how irresponsible they were. Again, this isn't a left or right issue. This is just simply a fact issue. They needed to be able to ask Twitter what was going on, and I don't think most of these news organizations did that, and now they're reluctant to admit it.
Yeah, and they're attacking you. Matt Taibbi, thank you for your reporting and for telling us about it tonight. I appreciate it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.